What's going on, everybody? It's Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord, and I've got my good buddy Mike Zuber from One Rental at a Time here. Mike, are you ready for segment 2?
I love segment 2. I'm going to pull a Dion. Segment 2.
I love it. It's so good. He's so much fun. We have so much fun on those Thursdays.
Thursday's awesome.
They're a
Three
blast.
amigos.
So one of the things, so this segment, what I really wanted to talk to you about was we're a consumer-based economy. So being a consumer-based economy, 67% of the consumer makes up the economy, right? So being a consumer-based economy, I want to understand, Mike, what's the most important thing that we track when trying to understand economically what's occurring?
Well, the answer, in my opinion, so first off, my background, right? So I have an economics degree from a great university plus an MBA. So one of the things you learn kind of following a track of an econ degree is there's lots of metrics out there as an economist you could watch. And usually what will happen is you will become someone who focuses on one metric as your thing, right? It's your leading indicator. For example, Janet Yellen, who is currently the Treasury Secretary, was past Fed president, kind of an important lady. She is what you call an employment economist, right? For her, it's all about employment and more specifically, unemployment, right? Jerome Powell, right? The 10-year, right? All economists kind of focus on one metric, and I am no different. However, unlike the two that we just talked about, I've only ever followed the consumer. It really doesn't, I don't really understand why you would follow the 10-year or you would follow unemployment when we are in a consumer-based economy. You correctly said 66.5, 67.5, somewhere in there percent of the economy. When we're talking about the GDP, and more specifically, as you and I are both real estate people, I want to know what's going on with the consumer because frankly, the owner occupants, which, oh, by the way, are consumers, are my biggest competition, right? You and I play in residential real estate. Single family duplex, who's house hacking a fourplex, they can outpay us. They have cheaper debt, less down. So they are my competition. So I've always followed the consumer. And what I'm trying to figure out is the consumer more or less fearful or more or less greedy. And that's all it is to me. It's a spectrum from green to red. And that's all I'm ever following, right? Are they happier or more afraid today than yesterday? So what are we seeing today is the environment we were in, right? If you go back a month, right? July 4th seems like so far ago. The economy is raging. We're in the light. There's no talk of Delta, at least at any level of hitting the media. And now all of a sudden it's everywhere. Mask mandates are coming back, talk of a third jab and all of these things going on. And lo and behold, we got a consumer sentiment reading today that was the largest drop on record. We're now as low as 2011. So what does that mean? Well, I think we're going to see consumer where that means people are going to stop taking vacations. Disney just had great reportings yesterday. My guess is their population or their attendees are down. We're going to have supposedly a movie test this weekend, the thing called, I don't know what it's called, some Ryan Reynolds movie coming out, Big Guy or My Guy or whatever it's called. And I think it's going to be disappointing because I think what we're seeing is the consumers like, damn, this thing's real. Damn, I'm scared again. Oh my God, the hospitals are blowing up in Alabama and Texas and Florida. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to stay home again. So I only follow the consumer because they are the largest part of the GDP. If you can figure out where the herd, which is the consumer, is going, you really can figure things out. So for me, it's always been the consumer.
Yeah. And I think that, the other thing too is that, like you were saying, the biggest competition that we have in buying something is owner ocs. That's the biggest competition that we have in any deal that we're ever in, because they're not looking at it as a business decision. They're looking at it as, I want to live there.
Exactly. Emotion trumps numbers.
So again, this is another indicator that if you're doing your homework, if you're doing your work in your market, this is something that then further leads to softness in the market that then puts you back in the driver's seat because you know what's something worth when it lists. And you're always going to find there's a multifamily that I've been watching now for 6 weeks. They've had 3 price reductions.
That's a sign.
It is a sign. So I'm watching it. I'm watching it. And you know what? We called them up and just said, you know, let us know when you're ready for a legitimate offer that is actually more in line with what the property's worth.
Mhm.
And they basically were like, yeah, we think it's worth what we're asking. Well, you thought that 3 times ago too, and that's not working out very well for you. So
That's funny.
again, understanding that we are a consumer-based economy, when there is that fear, when there is that trepidation, that's what creates opportunity. And what you have to do is, it's always a great time to do a great deal. You have to just watch and see, is that creating a great deal? Because you will find there, it's not so much an inventory story now as much as it is people are truly ready to exit the market in some of these cases. They are truly ready to
Yeah.
move, truly ready to leave, truly ready not to be landlords anymore. And they're just saying, listen, I've got 30, 40, 50% equity. Just figure it out. Like, let's just get a deal done. Let's make sure that it doesn't drag on, make sure that it does close, because now you're not closing in September, or excuse me, in August. You're closing end of September, October, cold season, all that stuff starts to get worse. Delta will get worse before it gets better. There will be more fear, and there will be more people that will say, we just got to get out because we got to make sure that we're all wrapped up and done before November and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and all that stuff becomes a thing.
Yeah, this consumer sentiment number surprised me. It didn't surprise me it was down. It surprised me how much it was down.
Yeah.
And again, I think that will have impact on, I'm suspecting hotels are going to have cancellation. We're going to see, it was Southwest and Frontier talked about cancellations. I bet you everybody has them now. I think open houses are going to go down. I think movie theaters are going to go down. I think theme parks are going to go down. I think the consumer is telling you that they weren't nervous in July, but they are nervous in August, and you would be wise to pay attention. But back to what we're dealing with, we're still in real estate investors. And like we talked about in episode 1, we're going to expect, cheap debt and higher rent. So if you're an investor, this is the big, when you really get this down, it's the Warren Buffett quote: I get greedy when others are scared. So what do I mean by that? Well, when the consumer, my biggest competitor, gets nervous, which they are today, I get excited. It means I can be a cheap ass bastard and offer lower numbers and get higher yields. I believe we are heading into that window where owner occs are going to retreat. Sellers who have to sell, job change, frustration, whatever it is, and I might be the only buyer. And I did a video this morning with Stephen Dow from Velocity Mortgage. I'm gonna go get, I found a good deal. I'm gonna go get a 50% loan, even though I could pay cash. So I have more capital to buy the next one. So do the numbers that make sense.
Totally agree with you. And again, when other people are getting hesitant, that is the opportunity, when you know your numbers, to pounce. Exactly. Mike, you nailed it. I mean, this is the thing that I'm looking at all the time. And it was really funny because my accountant, who I'd sent kind of a mid-year update to, he's like, oh my word, you have bought way too much this year. And I was like, whoa, 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 who else pays your fee? I was like, give me a break. And I said, and then I said to him, I go, you think that's bad? Wait until you see the next 6 months. Because it's gonna, I think, as busy as my year has been, I think I'm gonna be buying even more in the second half, because I think that there's going to be that softness, there's going to be that correction, and rates don't move immediately. And so I think it's going to be that perfect time to get somebody that's a little bit weak in the knees, that needs to actually sell their property, and I'm going to get the cheapest rate ever, but I'm not going to get in the bidding war to buy it. And that's where
I think it's coming. I mean, again,
it's that inefficiency that you find when you do
retreat.
your work. It's that inefficiency you find in the market when you're doing the work. And in those transitions, there's inefficiencies created that if you can be opportunistic and execute on, it's an absolute game changer.
Couldn't have said it better. I agree. I think the next 4, again, it is between now and December 31st.
Are you there? You good?
Lumberjack.
All right.
I'm good.
Yeah, you went red for a second.
That was a weird pause.
But yeah, so what your point was is, you know, to pounce now, look at the numbers, understand the numbers. This is the time that evaluation should be done, because you're going to be able to capitalize on that inefficiency in the market.
Yeah, competition is down. When supply is rising and you have cheap debt, I couldn't imagine a better time.
Totally agree. Mike, where can we find you, my man?
Go to Google, one rental at a time.
Google one rental at a time, lumberjacklandlord.com, lumberjack landlord on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe. And guys, we'll pick things up in segment 3, which is absolute fire. It will be something you would never expect to hear from somebody's mouth, but I will be saying it. See you then. Thanks, Mike.